Thank you for joining our session today, where we're going to talk about Harmony Connect Internet Access, which is part of Checkpoint Sassy Suite. My name is Jacob Lee. I'm the head of Harmony Sales for the Americas, and I'm joined by Hamza Ismail, who's our Sassy architect for EMEA. As far as the agenda goes, we're going to cover three things today. We'll start with an introduction to the Checkpoint Sassy platform. We'll talk a little bit about the Harmony Connect Internet Access solution, followed by a live technical demo of Harmony Connect Internet Access. To get started, let's talk a little bit about how we came across the Sassy suite and why customers are moving towards a Sassy model or secure access service edge and adopting solutions like Harmony Connect Internet Access. So as we know, things have changed quite a bit over the last few years. Today's enterprises include a lot of distributed applications and workforce. Applications really are everywhere. They could be SaaS applications hosted outside of your data center. They could be hosted applications hosted in the cloud, such as AWS, Azure, or GCP. They could be infrastructure as a service now delivered via AWS, or even branch offices that need to connect to applications that are hosted deep in your data center. So things have changed quite a bit versus the traditional model 5 to 10 years ago, where a majority of applications were hosted in your data center. In fact, Gartner claims by 2024, over 80% of applications, new applications, will be deployed outside of your data center or outside of the security walls of your data center. In addition to that, remote user access is the new normal. The pandemic has certainly driven a lot of this, but when we've spoken with CISOs throughout the world, they've explained that they will be adopting more of a hybrid model where users will be working in the office part-time and potentially working from home part-time, but there will be a lot more flexibility and quite a few changes for the traditional workforce model. In addition, offices are connecting directly to the internet to access their applications these days because these applications are delivered via the cloud or via SaaS. And they're deploying and leveraging solutions like SD-WAN from a network performance perspective. And they're looking at a better approach to securing their branch offices as they connect to their applications that are hosted in the cloud. So quite a lot has changed over the years, including distributed applications, remote user access, and branch offices adopting solutions like SD-WAN. This leads us to the new network security model, which is SASE. SASE has become a very popular acronym over the last few years. It stands for Secure Access Service Edge. And a lot of Checkpoint's customers and prospective customers are speaking to us about how they can adopt this new model and deploy a SASE architecture. Now, from Checkpoint's view, SASE includes a few different things. It includes network security delivered as a consolidated cloud service. So a number of different features and functionalities that you traditionally have a number of different products for are now delivered via the cloud, via a SaaS model in one single comprehensive solution. In addition, it aligns specifically to the zero trust access model. So the idea of least privilege connection to corporate networks and applications. In addition to that, we're focusing on different contextual factors, including identities and devices, to determine when and how a user should be able to access your internal applications or your resources. In addition, we provide secure connectivity to internet and SaaS applications. So as users are working from home, or maybe they're working from a coffee shop, we need to protect them with the same level of policies that you would have as if they were in the corporate office. And then finally here, with Checkpoint being a leader in cybersecurity, our advanced threat prevention capabilities are a key part or a cornerstone of our Sassy suite. Now, Checkpoint Harmony is a holistic solution to secure remote user devices and access. The solution we're going to talk about today is Harmony Connect, which is our Sassy suite, but the full Harmony suite includes Sassy, endpoint security, mobile security, and email and productivity security solutions. All of these solutions can be purchased in a very nice, neatly packaged and can also be deployed and managed via the Checkpoint Infinity portal. To get started here, to talk a little bit deeper about Sassy, what we're doing is we're consolidating all of these core security services via one solution delivered via the cloud, via points of presence throughout the world. This includes next generation firewall technology, IPS, DLP or data loss prevention, ZTNA or zero trust network access, our advanced threat prevention, and our secure web gateway solution, which is a big part of our Harmony Connect internet access capabilities. Now, there are two components of Checkpoint's Harmony Connect suite. On the left is our corporate access, and this is for remote access or zero trust network access. And on the right is our internet and SaaS access. And this is what we're going to be speaking about today. This is our secure web gateway, firewalls as service, DLP type capabilities for roaming users and branch offices. So regardless of the use case, if it is a branch office that you need to secure their access to the internet, if they're adopting a modern SD-WAN technology, or if it's a roaming user on their managed device, and you want to make sure these users are protected as they're working from home, or they're working from a Starbucks, or they're working from another customer's office, we've got you covered within our Harmony Connect suite. Now, to get into what the solution actually provides, we're securing roaming users with our Harmony Connect internet access, providing the capabilities and features below, including threat prevention with zero-day sandboxing, IPS, advanced phishing protection, malware and C2 bot prevention, and we're also providing full SSL visibility inspection as well. So protecting these users with our advanced threat prevention engine. This is a single client that your company would install within your organization to protect your users as they're working from anywhere. And the way it works is we integrate with your IDP, aligning to that zero trust access model. So using identity as a cornerstone to determine what users should access. So this IDP could be an Azure AD, it could be an Okta, Ping, OneLogin, et cetera. We have vast integrations into all the different identity managed providers out there. From there, what we're doing is we're providing all of these security policies and all these capabilities for these roaming users to protect them as they go to the various applications or websites that are hosted on the internet. For instance, surfing Google, searching different categories, doing things like URL filtering to prevent users from going to known malicious sites or categories of sites that aren't within corporate policy. In addition, we provide full application control, which can protect your users from going to certain applications outside of corporate policy. And then finally here, we're providing data protection or DLP. So for instance, if you want to protect a user from uploading sensitive PII data, this could be credit card data or social security type data, we can do that within our DLP controls within the solution when you're defining your granular policy types and what users should be doing on the platform. So this is all delivered via a single client. The solution itself is hosted as a cloud service with multiple POPs or points of presence throughout the world. And we're protecting these users as they're surfing the internet, as they're accessing applications on the internet, or as they're sharing data and aligning that to corporate and company policies. Now, in addition to roaming users or users who are outside of the office, where you want to make sure they have the same level of policy as they would as if they were in the corporate office, we're also securing branch offices too. So we integrate with all the major SD-WAN providers out there. This could be Ariaka, VeloCloud, Silver Peak, et cetera. And we're providing that same level of advanced security, URL filtering, DLP type capabilities, and granular application access control for these users as well, with 5.9 SLAs guaranteed and elastic, scalable, in-zone high availability. So great performance for these users as they're deploying SD-WAN and as they need to connect to their applications that are hosted in the cloud or they're on the internet. Now, to summarize the value of our internet access capabilities within Harmony Connect, we're preventing threats by protecting users from zero-day malware and phishing. We're controlling access by controlling internet access with advanced application control and URL filtering, essentially protecting users from going to known malicious applications or URLs, or protecting these users from going to certain URLs that are outside of company or corporate policy. And we're protecting data. So we're governing data uploaded to the internet and SaaS and monitoring shadow IT within our platform. So we're providing total user and data protection within our Harmony Connect internet access suite for your roaming users and your branch offices. Now, all of this is powered by the world's most powerful threat intelligent network, that is Checkpoint's Threat Cloud. We're protecting hundreds of millions of devices, clouds, and gateways daily with our predictive intelligent ML-driven AI enrichment solution here. The Threat Cloud is handling over 3 billion files and websites handled daily, 13 million files emulated daily, and over 2,000 zero-day files detected daily. So Checkpoint being a #1 player in cybersecurity, we're leveraging this DNA and this technology to protect users with our Harmony Connect internet access solution to make sure that whether they're working from home or a coffee shop, their device and their data is protected. And finally here, the rollout of our solution is extremely easy. It's all managed via the Infinity Portal, which is a unified cloud-based solution to manage all of our different solutions, starting on the left-hand side with our Quantum network security, our CloudGuard cloud security, and also Harmony secure users and access capabilities here. That includes Harmony Connect. Hamza is going to show you a demo today covering the Harmony Connect internet access solution to cover a bunch of different use cases that should be relevant to your organization. Hamza, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. So, the main use case and scenario we're going to be going through today is with the roaming user and securing the internet access for a remote user using the Harmony Connect client. Now, this client is very lightweight. It's a small installable package that you will either receive from your administrator in the organization, and they can be pushing the package out using an MSI package or a XE package, and can distribute it using various distribution tools such as SCCM or Microsoft Intune. Or you can also enroll users using an email address, and they will receive a welcome email with a link to install the client. Now, once the client has been installed, we will fetch the user principal name of the machine, which is binded to the user, and we will, in a zero-touch manner, automatically authenticate the user to an identity provider and activate the client immediately. And as you can see here, once the client has been activated and installed, we can then secure both the internet access and network access, which is providing corporate access back to a customer's data center. But for today, we are primarily going to be focusing on the right-hand side, which is secure internet access. Now, from a client perspective, you can do a few things from a user's point of view. So first of all, they are able to suspend the client if, as an example, they are having issues with connectivity. If they're not able to browse to a particular site, they have the ability to suspend the client, and the suspending of a client can also be PIN protected. So if the administrator wishes to enforce tamper protection on the client, they can allow users to request a code from the administrator where they'll need to enter a PIN in order to disable the client. This can also apply to the uninstallation of a client as well. Furthermore, in the settings of the client, we can see a few more details about the user who has been assigned to this client. You can change the language for the various language options that you have within the client. You can collect logs if you need to do troubleshooting for any connectivity issues, if you want to look at the different versions that the client is using. And at the bottom, you can see that the version of this client is up to date, and we automatically maintain the version to the latest version number that we have from Checkpoint. So Checkpoint pushes out an update as soon as a new version is available down to the clients. You can also see we accelerate the connection using port 1194 on UDP. So we are not, using the standard SSL port in order to encrypt and provide secure internet access. We can actually accelerate this connection furthermore to speed and provide the high-level bandwidth for users' internet traffic. Okay, so that is from the Harmony Connect client, how that looks like and how it operates. Now, how you actually manage and deploy and configure the solution is via our Infinity Portal. So as Jacob mentioned, the Infinity Portal is our cloud-based management platform where you're able to log in as an administrator and select from a wealth of different Checkpoint technologies, including Harmony Connect, as you can see there. And once you select Harmony Connect, then you are presented with a welcome page on how you can deploy and roll out the Sassy solution from Checkpoint. So as I mentioned today, the main use case we'll be focusing on is secure internet access for remote users. And as you can see, we have a few steps in order to get started. So the first one is connecting our users. So as I mentioned, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can either enroll them using an email where you would add a new user. You can also import a CSV file with a list of users. And once you've added those users, then you can hit the OK button, and the users will then receive an email from Checkpoint in order to install the client. The second option, and the preferred option when you want to do a mass rollout or a wide deployment for your organization, is by connecting an identity provider. So with the Harmony Connect solution today, we integrate with many different identity providers, and we have native integration for a select identity providers on this list here. So as an example, we have Microsoft Azure AD. And when you select identity provider as a configuration option, you are then brought to the wizard here, and you can go through the different steps on how you can configure your identity provider and connect your directory into the Harmony Connect platform. So as an example, if we select Azure AD, the next step would be to verify our domain. So this would be your organizational domain. The reason we do this, and the reason we want and request this, is so that you as a organization can identify yourself and prove the ownership of your domain. And once you've entered your domain, you just need to add a text record or a TXT record into your DNS server. And then we are then able to verify your domain after that. After this point, we would allow connectivity. This means we would specify an entity ID and a reply URL into your identity provider. This is so that we are able to provide the SAML 2.0 authentication. So when your users want to authenticate to Harmony Connect, they are then able to successfully reach the entity ID and log in as a user or a group. And as you can see, we have certain sets of user attributes and claims where we would identify the users based on their name, surname, and email, and based on groups using the group claim name. Once we've done this, then we can upload what's called a metadata file. So this can come from any identity provider, depending on which one you are configuring. And once you've uploaded this metadata file, you are then able to configure the directory integration. So with specific identity providers that we support today, we can automatically sync your users and groups within our portal. This then allows you to automate the process of configuring and specifying your policy rules. So there's no requirement to manually create those objects in the portal itself. So the way we do this with Azure AD is by specifying an app registration in Azure, where you would specify the application ID, the directory ID of your Azure AD tenant, and the client secret, which you would generate within the Azure portal. Once you've entered these parameters, then you would also specify the API permissions. So we are able to read and identify the users and groups. And after this point, we would click next, and you would be able to finish the configuration wizard. And we will then do a sync with your identity provider and fetch all of that metadata into our platform. Now, as I mentioned, this is just as an example of one of the identity providers that we support today. But of course, you can select from the other identity providers that we have on this list, and we can also support a generic SAML provider. So if you're using a IDP that is outside of this list, then you can also connect and integrate another identity provider solution that you may have. Okay. Once you've connected your users, then the next thing to do is to create what's called a cloud location. So for your remote users using the client, we would specify a cloud location. And this cloud location is essentially one of our points of presences that we host within Harmony Connect today. And we co-locate our points of presence with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. So we are leveraging the public cloud backbone in order to have a global presence with Harmony Connect. So within the assets page, and when you select cloud locations, you are then able to select from a drop-down list of the different global locations that you can enable within your account. And you can see from here the different locations that we support today. So with AWS and Azure, There's support for Asia, support for Europe, and support for the US and the Middle East. And once you've selected your cloud location that you want to enable in the account, you would simply select update. And then within approximately 25 minutes, a points of presence location is generated for your account. And behind the scenes, we are essentially generating a dual availability zone checkpoint gateways in the cloud. And this is a dedicated presence for your account. Okay. And on the same page, we can see we have a few users already added into the platform. So because we have an Azure AD identity provider connected to the Infinity portal, we have already rolled out the Harmony Connect client to a few users. And we can see here the automatically populated data for those users. And as an example, we can see this user at the top is currently connected. And this is the user that I'm using, the client that I'm using with this user. And we can see the devices that the client is installed on. And you can also see the posture status of this device as well. And we'll go into the settings of that shortly. We can also see the operating system of the device running the client, the version number, the last seen connected status time, and the installation date. Great. And as I mentioned, if you want to deploy this client using a wide deployment method, then you can use the following MSI or XE packages for Windows. And for Mac, we also have a PKG file as well. Okay. So you can also hook up your branch offices to Harmony Connect. And it's really simple on how you get this set up. Within the wizard page, you would select a branch office. You would specify a name. And you can specify your branch office gateway type. So these can be one of the following supported SD-WAN vendors that we support today, or it can be a generic router or an SD-WAN device that you may have. Essentially, anything that supports an IPsec tunnel is what you can connect with Harmony Connect. Then you would specify the number of users. This then allows us to notify our service in the back end to scale appropriately according to the number of users at that branch office. And then you would specify a dynamic IP address or a static IP address that your branch office gateway is using. So just to proceed on to the next page, I'll enter a random IP address. You would save the shared secret, so then you're able to establish the IPsec tunnel afterwards. You can also enable tunnel status, otherwise known as dead peer detection, provided by Checkpoint. And then you can configure your internal subnets within the branch office. And after this point, you would specify a location of that branch office. So just to proceed, I'll enter this subnet here. You would enter the physical site address of your branch office, and then we will automatically map that physical address to a location of our cloud service. And again, you can select from a drop-down of the global points of presence locations that we have today. And after that point, you would hit finish and create. And then within, again, approximately 25 minutes, your branch office will be available, and then you will then establish the IPsec tunnels on your branch office gateway. Okay, so once you've connected your users, whether you're using the roaming client or whether you're using a branch office, the next thing we would do is then configure our policy, which is essentially where most of our time will be taken. So within the policy page, we have internet access. We also have access conditions, network access, and application access, which I will explain later on. But with internet access, we can see here, and especially for the Checkpoint veterans out there, a familiar policy rule-based system that we have seen before. So how this works is in a numbered order. So you would create your rules based on the priority of that rule. And within the rule itself, you would select a few settings. So the first would be the action, which can be an allow or block. You would give the rule a name, so an appropriate name that you can identify later on. You would specify the source for this rule. So this source can be a user or a group coming from an identity provider. And as I mentioned, if you connect one of the select identity providers, such as Azure AD or Okta, we can automatically sync the directory with the policy page. So there's no need for you to manually create those objects. Or if you want to, you can create these objects yourselves, and you can also create a network list if you are using a branch office with Harmony Connect. So when we select users and groups, this will then do an API call to the likes of Azure AD. And you can see here, we have groups that have been automatically populated from our identity provider. And we can also see a list of users that's been created as well. And within the user, you can then see the email, and then you can identify that user based on their email to ensure that you are using the correct user within the rule. So once you've defined your source, then the next thing would be to define a destination. So a destination can be a URL category, or it can be an application from our application control database. So the first thing, if we select categories and applications, you can see here a predefined list of URL categories, and this is taken from the Checkpoint App Wiki and URL category database. And you can see a whole bunch of different URL categories. We support over 110 categories today. And with applications, this is coming from the Checkpoint Application Control Database, otherwise known as App Wiki. And you can select from, as you can see there, 8,918 applications. And these can consist of different SaaS applications, social media applications, anything that we can identify on the internet as a URL or an application. Most likely you'll be able to select from the predefined list here. Okay. On top of the categories and applications, you are also able to select a URL list. And a URL list can be a custom URL category that you would define and create yourself. So within here, you can enter a specific set of domains and URLs. And we can also define if these are using a wildcard, or if you would like to use a regular expression otherwise. Okay. So once we've defined our destination, we can also define the content. So the content is using our cloud data protection engine, otherwise known as Checkpoint Content Awareness. And when you select the content type here, you will get a predefined list of data types and file types that you can select from. So whether it's PII data that you want to restrict or allow, such as PCI credit card numbers, or whether it's specific file types such as an archive file or an executable file or something else, you can select from the predefined list here, and then you can specify whether you want to restrict that traffic being uploaded to a certain application or a website, or whether you want to allow that traffic within your organization. So now that we've gone through how you configure your rules and policy, let's take a look at some of the examples of the rules that we already have here. So out of the box, you will get these first three rules within Harmony Connect. And essentially, we can block any types of malicious content being uploaded to the internet. And the second rule is prohibiting any explicit content being uploaded to the internet as well. So we can block the likes of gambling websites, phishing websites, weapons, other things that you can see here. And essentially, the reason we have this is we recognize by default within an organization, for your remote users especially, you may not want to, or you may not want your users to access this type of content, whether that's malicious content or whether that's explicit content or inappropriate content on the web. And the third rule that we have by default is to block any access to peer-to-peer file sharing services. Now, more specifically and more granularly, we have some more rules created below. So the first one is preventing any users uploading PII data to SaaS applications. So we have a few select users here, and we have selected specific SaaS applications according to the rules that we have. So as an example, we have Salesforce, we have Microsoft OneDrive, we have Monday, and this is taken again from the application control database that is constantly being updated with more and more applications being uploaded per day. And we also have specified that we want to restrict US social security numbers being uploaded to these SaaS services. So again, it's about the granularity that you would get with Harmony Connect. The next rule below is to block any types of posts on Facebook. So not only can you restrict access to a SaaS application generically, you can also more granularly specify what types of activities you want to block within an application itself. So as an example, you don't just have to block access to Facebook. You can specifically say you want to block users posting things to Facebook as well. And lastly, we are blocking users uploading PCI type data and IBAN type data to the internet. So this is our access control policy. This is how you would configure your secure internet access policy as soon as you create your account. And the next thing that we'll go to is our threat prevention profile. So with threat prevention being a key thing within Checkpoint and being the heritage of Checkpoint, we enable a recommended profile out of the box for your account with Harmony Connect. And this is essentially saying that we're turning on all of the taps with threat prevention, and we are enabling all of those engines within the background. And you, as a organization or a user of Harmony Connect, shouldn't have to worry about the performance or any kinds of bottlenecks when it comes to enabling threat prevention engines within Harmony Connect. Now, what do you get within the threat prevention recommended profile? You would have access to our zero-day sandboxing engine, which is looking at CPU level and operating system level exploits. You get access to our IPS engine, which again is looking at the known CVEs and signatures out there today. You also would have access to our anti-bot and antivirus engines, which is blocking access to any command and control servers and would block access to known virus signatures. And you will then, of course, have access to our threat cloud database, which brings you access and allows you to be secured from the latest zero-day exploits out there on the web today. Okay. Now, you can and you do get the option to add in exceptions for threat prevention. So if there's a particular CVE that you want to exclude within your policy, if there's something that you want to disable within a threat prevention engine or a blade, as we call it, then you do have the ability to do that, and you can customize your threat prevention profile according to the exceptions. Okay. The next thing after threat prevention is SSL inspection. So with SSL inspection, it gives us the ability to inspect all of the packets and read all of the packet contents and headers within a user's device and machine. And therefore, we can more granularly apply that access control policy that we've defined. Now, by default, you would have basic inspection, but you do get the capability to enable full inspection. And you can see the two different types here. So as an example, if you enable full inspection, this gives us the ability to read all of the connection headers and contents and allows us to redirect the user to a blocked page instead of the user seeing a page not found, which is not very user-friendly. And it gives us the ability to apply full application control and to prevent any types of zero-day attacks and blocking malicious files. Now, the great thing with Harmony Connect and with the roaming user client is that when you install the client on an endpoint, there's no need to install the SSL certificate. This is done automatically with the client. And you do also get the option to upload your own certificate. So if you do have your own certificate you would like to use, you can upload that to the Harmony Connect portal. Of course, we recognize that you may want to exclude certain services with SSL inspection. So by default, we are bypassing services such as financial services, the likes of banking websites, healthcare services, and our own recommended list. And you can also exclude SSL inspection for specific IPs within your organization. As I mentioned, we integrate with many identity providers, and we leverage our identity awareness engine within Checkpoint so that we can correlate and identify an IP address and then translate that to a user coming from your IDP. And as an administrator, you get the option to modify and control the different policy installs and revisions that are occurring. And you can see what was changed during the different policy installs on the right-hand side here. Great. So before I get into the logs and events and the settings, let's run through some demo scenarios of what you can do with Harmony Connect secure internet access. So with the client running here, if I go to our Check Me website, this is going to run a network simulation attack on my machine. And you'll soon see that we are blocking the machine being having connectivity out to the advanced threats on the web, having connectivity to any phishing sites, and having connectivity to any kind of botnet command and control service. So if I go through this now, we can see that it's going to run the tests. And we can see that the machine is now being protected with the Harmony Connect client to access to any types of malware infection, access to a command and control communication, any kinds of zero-day exploits, and browser exploitation, and data leakage as well. The second scenario that I'd like to show is the ability to restrict any types of files being uploaded to personal OneDrive accounts. So I'm currently logged into my personal OneDrive account. And if I would like to block a particular file being uploaded to the personal OneDrive storage account here, if I select upload and select files, I can select this file here with a credit card number. And when I attempt to upload this file, we can now see that the upload is being attempted within the backend of OneDrive, but shortly the upload will fail and will be unsuccessful. And then we can also see this in the logs as well. And the reason for that is, as you saw in the policy, we are able to not only block access to OneDrive, but more specifically specify that we don't want users to upload any types of files to OneDrive as well. And this is great when your users are using their corporate devices, and this gives them the ability to log into OneDrive as a read-only user, but then they're not able to upload any types of corporate files from their corporate machine into their personal OneDrive accounts. The third scenario I'd like to show is to block access to a phishing website. So within the OpenFish website here, if I select a particular URL, so let's go for this one here, and we can see that it's known as a generic spear phishing website. So if I select this, and we can now see that the URL has been blocked, and we get a blocked page of accessing the phishing website with some more information about the reason we have been blocked. And you can see that the classification is a site that is known to contain malware. And the last scenario I'd like to show is access to potentially explicit content, such as gambling websites. So if I browse to a gambling website known as 888.com, again, the user is redirected, and we can now see that it's classified this website as a gambling website. And in order for them to get access to this website, they can contact their help desk. But at the same time, we can customize this page according to your needs. You can add your custom logo, you can change the text, and from a user's perspective, it educates them further as to why they've been blocked access to these particular sites. So going back to the Infinity portal, if we now go to in the logs and events, we can take a look at what has been going on within Harmony Connect in the past few minutes since I've been running these demos. So here, again, for our Checkpoint and veterans out there, You'll be very familiar with this page. So this is using our smart log and smart event engines within Checkpoint. This allows us to be very, very granular when we're looking at logs with Harmony Connect and trying to do investigations and reconnaissance and gathering data about what users have been doing on the internet. So first of all, on the left-hand side, we can see the different activities across a period of time. We can see the different engines and blades that we can filter down to. We can filter down to specific actions that we may want to have a look at. So if we want to look at blocked logs or prevent logs, the different severity types, and you can also filter down to the country type as well, based on the destination address. So as an example, when we ran the CheckMe test as a simulation, we can see this IPS log here. The action was inspect. We can open this log in another window, and we can see that it was trying to attempt to download an ICAR antivirus file. We can see the different traffic details. So the source address, the destination address, the country, the user, and the browser that they were using as well. And some more information about the website and applications they were accessing. Also, we can see that the user was prevented access to the phishing website they were trying to access earlier. And again, you can see more details about this and the different classification types based on the malware itself. And we can also take a look at the blocked attempt to OneDrive. So when you go into the logs, you can filter down to redirect, and you are able to look at the different files that were trying to be uploaded to OneDrive. And again, you can take further investigation upon there. But the main thing about this page is the granularity that you get and the visibility that you get with the solution. You can also use the search query at the top. You can filter down to specific users. You can filter down to a specific date and time. And again, gathering that data will be very key and important for the security administrators. What you also get with the logs and events with internet access is the ability to look at certain views and reports. So first of all, we have the cyber attack view, which is giving us a holistic overview of the current activity that is occurring with Harmony Connect today. So we can see here, particular users have been prevented download of malicious files. Some users have been prevented access to malicious websites and prevented attempted use of browser vulnerabilities. And the great thing is we can dive further deeper into the activity here. So if we want to look down into who's been prevented downloads of malicious files, we can see on the right-hand side the users that were attempting to download those files. And again, we can drill down further into these logs and look at the date and time and take further investigation upon there. And also within this log card here, you can look at the severity level of that malware, the confidence level, the malware action, so the malware family it was associated to. And we also do some more forensic investigation. So the way our emulation technology works is we detonate the file within an operating system in a virtual machine. And then this is where we can see more details about what was going on in that sandboxing analysis. Okay. Another great view is access control. So again, we get a holistic overview of the total amount of traffic that has been going through the Harmony Connect service. So we can look at the total number of traffic that we've seen, the allowed and blocked actions based on the source and destination, and the timelines of different events based on the allow or block or detect actions that we've seen. We also have the cloud applications view. This is great if you want to drill down into access to different SaaS services. So we can see here different access to the different social networking applications. And again, if you want to look at who's been accessing those applications, it's a case of drilling down further into this particular log. And then we can see who's been accessing, as an example, Facebook. And again, you can modify your policies from there. And lastly, we have a security report, which gives us, again, a holistic report of what's been going on over the period of time with Harmony Connect. We break this down into different views and pages. So you can look at a general activity view. You can look at uploads and collaborations, hosts infected with bots, the top malicious command and control connections, different malicious files, and many of the things that you can view, drill further down into. This is fully interactive in the portal, and you can also export this to a PDF and share with your wider teams. Okay. Now, just to move on to some of the settings that you get with Harmony Connect about the kinds of controls that you can enforce with the Harmony Connect client. So within this page, one of the things that we can do is disable the client if we detect the user is based in the office. So the way we can do this is by enabling the second option here. And you can specify if you want the client to detect if the user is speaking out to a specific domain or IP. And you can specify the service that you want the detection to work on. So whether it's an ICMP request, a HTTP request, or using a custom TCP port number. Another option we get is the ability to have split tunneling. So we have the ability to specify certain domains and networks. And this means from the client's perspective, when you enforce a domain or a network list, the client will not inspect this traffic, and it means the user will have direct access to that application that you specified within this list here. And the last couple of options we get is, as I mentioned at the start, some tamper-proofing protection options. So we can allow the user to suspend the client, but furthermore, we can restrict the suspending of a client by the user requesting an emergency code. And we, as the administrator, can generate that emergency code for that user, and we can then present that to the user. And this is how you can ensure that the client is always on. And this also applies to the uninstallation of the client as well. And also just to show you the identity provider. So here is again where you would connect an identity provider. So there's a couple of ways you can view the wizard. And once you've gone through this, we would then be able to again view your directory and sync it with the portal. So I did mention during the policy page, I was going to glance over these options here. So the first one is access conditions, whereby you can enable posture checking on the client. So this applies both to secure internet access and secure network access. And this gives us the ability to identify if there is an antivirus installed on the machine and whether the user is joined to a particular domain. And if we detect these out of the scope of your settings here, then we can disable the client, and therefore their internet access can be restricted. And again, we have network access, which is given the ability to present corporate access for users using the Harmony Connect client, and application access, which is the ZTNA component of the Harmony Connect solution. And with that, that's a quick tour and demo of Harmony Connect internet access. Hopefully that's been useful, and I'll now hand it back over to Jacob.
Thanks, Hamza. Thanks for the demonstration today. Well, we hope everyone found this session productive. If you'd like to learn more, please reach out to your local Checkpoint partners or Checkpoint sales team. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.